So welcome back to another episode of Brainwashed by the Pop Culture. This is a special episode. We are not alone here, me and Tom. We have a special guest. We have Zach Huber with us from the Let's Goof channel, and he's gonna. I think that's it. He's gonna introduce himself now. So you go ahead and tell us where you're from, who you are, spell your name, and so on.
Right on. My name is Zach Huber. That's Zach, not with a K. There's a lot of Zachs out there that think that, K is the way. It's not. It's ZCH. I'm a filmmaker from Kansas City, where I was born and raised. And then I moved to Chicago, and now I live in Albuquerque. And I am an independent filmmaker here in Albuquerque that's really focused on trying to create an economy for independent film here in Albuquerque. So just creating a place for independent filmmakers to, produce and make money off their work.
Awesome.
Is that it? Because I have a lot of questions, right? Just from this, and I'm looking for paper to make notes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could say a lot more about myself and how I got where I'm at. I think you guys have a special question, though, which is what is my favorite thing about Nicolas Cage?
Usually we open with what's happening in the Nicolas Cage world. So last time he remembered that he remembered what it is like to be in the womb, and he was on a talk show. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
He remembered what it's like to be in mother's womb because he's Nicolas Cage.
So what you do here, Josh, is Zach introduced himself. He said a little bit about where he's from. Told us a little bit about what he's doing in Albuquerque, trying to create an independent sort of community economy for filmmaking, which, by the way, is dope. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
What we're now curious about, what is your favorite thing about Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say, I don't know, I guess right off the top, I just like the first thing that comes to mind. My favorite thing about him is how much he's impacted my life. Like he has had a huge impact on my life, whether he knows it or not. It's really funny in a roundabout way, too. It's not like, he's a wonderful performer, but I'm not particularly inspired by him. But I have used his meme ability or like the humor surrounding him and who he is in so many scenarios in my life. Like, for instance, I used to, on short films, something I like to do to like sort of galvanize the crew or like get everybody like feeling like they're on the same team is to start off the day, I'll give everybody like a token. Just something that is the same for everybody that they get to hold on to. Once it was like a picture of George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic. That's my favorite band. And one time it was a picture of Nicolas Cage. And that was actually the first time I ever did it, was I used a picture of him, and people really liked it. It was one of the most fun sets I've ever worked on because it just sets the tone at the top of the day. Like, hey, we're here to have fun and not take everything so seriously, because not everybody makes comedies like I do. And so not everybody is used to goofing off or not having fun, like having so much fun on set. You got to kind of like establish at the beginning of the day that we're here to have fun. This is silly. I'm going to give you an inspirational speech that's not really inspirational. It's just about Nicolas Cage. And I actually brought it back for my most recent film. I did Willem Dafoe. There's a really funny picture of him as Mary Poppins. Somebody like photoshopped him on Mary Poppins, and I gave everybody a little picture of Willem Dafoe as Mary Poppins. Yeah.
Did you try to contact maybe Nicolas Cage if he would be up for?
That would be interesting. I never have done that because I don't really make films in that budget range. I've never really had Nicolas Cage money. But if I did,
when he was in debt, he kind of was open to anything. That's how it seemed to me, and I feel like now he is open to anything again. So that's I think he's one of those people who are just like happy to listen. Defoe is the same, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like you can if you would have like a certain like like a.
Well, what do you guys think his magnum opus is? What do you guys think his greatest one is? Because I feel like it's that most recent one where he plays himself. I forget what the title of it is, but you guys know what I'm talking about with Pedro Pascal.
Unbearable weight
of massive talent.
that was one of the most like hilariously self-aware movies I think I've ever seen. It was really good. I like that movie.
Pedro Pascal was phenomenal in it.
Oh my God, he's so cool. Oh man, I love that dude. Yeah, that was
Really
such a fantastic series.
Cool dude.
I got really turned around about Pedro Pascal by that movie. You know, like I wasn't a fan of him much. Like he was at first, I was like, "Who is this guy? Why is he in these movies?" He was like shoehorned in somewhere. Yeah, in that film, awesome.
Did you ever see?
I started to like him now.
You ever see Blood-Sucking Bastards?
I don't think so. No, is that Nicolas Cage? No,
no, it's Pedro Pascal.
It's Pedro. It's Pedro.
It's kind of it's definitely below the radar.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I heard about it, but then Tom reminded me about that movie, and I finally watched it. So this is he beat me to it.
I did.
Sounds absurd.
That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I mean, is it like over the top?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. So if you had a corporate job, if you had an office job, this is more over the top, I guess, take on Office Space.
Office Space and zombies.
Oh,
Office Space,
wow.
okay. Well, vampires.
Very cool. That's funny, man.
Office Space means vampires. Yeah, that's a good take.
Oh, yeah,
it's a good film.
That's cool. So you guys were telling me a little bit about how you met earlier. You guys met in Prague, is what you said? Making a film together? Is that how you guys met?
Doing some theater together.
Oh, theater. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There used to be this theater community here before the pandemic, then kind of fell apart, and it was doing a couple of short play theater evenings. So we were preparing a short play together along with another actor, and that evening always was being delayed, and that kind of pissed me off because I mean, Tom had different engagements and so on, and then I don't know, it just got delayed, and then there was a pandemic, and so we never done that officially. We haven't.
Wow.
Yeah, officially we haven't.
I wanted to sing that song.
Yeah, I know, but we changed it. I had someone else do it, and then he kind of improv'd a completely different song on the spot.
Oh wow.
It was Alex, and the guy was insane, and I don't understand why he doesn't want to act anymore. It was this actor. He was a New Yorker as well, and he would be great at improv, but he didn't do improv. But anyway, just as an actor, you gave him a situation, like you gave him the script, and he would turn it into 100% better material.
I love actors like that. They're the best.
Yeah, just by being there. So I thought we had a song, and it was like a placeholder song. It was the Gorillaz "Up on Melancholy Hill," and because it was about friendship.
Okay.
Kind of weird thing about friendship, but still friendship. And I had that song there because I feel like it can be like a friendship song. But then I felt like, well, I don't want to do the same thing that we did at that theater that I know Tom from, because they were using songs without licenses, basically. I don't know how it works.
Okay, interesting.
So I told him, well, can we change it into something different? Yeah.
Just came up with one.
And he just came up with a completely different song. It was the most hilarious thing ever. I don't have footage of it, so it doesn't exist anymore.
That's so fun, man. I love actors like that. Actors that are willing to go the extra mile and just like add themselves to the performance. Honestly, probably the only reason we're talking right now is because one of those actors, once upon a time in Chicago, acted in one of my films, and he introduced me. His name is David Stobie, and he introduced me to all these talented actors. Because my number one advice for filmmakers who are trying to find actors, once you find an amazing actor, ask them who their friends are. Ask them who they get along with and who they do really cool scenes with, and they'll introduce you to so many of the coolest people you'll ever meet. And that's how I met Zoe Sapienza, who was in your guys' film. She was a part of this just like acting collective of friends that went to college together, and she ended up acting in our web series. Yeah, so that's probably why we're talking to each other right now, because I saw you guys' stuff on her Instagram story. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, she's a helpful actor in a way that she promotes it as well. Not
Oh
every
yeah.
actor is happy to promote. So
Well, she's a really smart actor. I loved working with her. I can still remember doing it. It was so fun. We had her tied to a toilet, and she couldn't move, and they were interrogating her in a bathroom. And she was just such a champ about it, and so fun to work with. Yeah, she was a blast, man. That
she's
was a
very
fun
fun to
project.
work. She's very fun to work with. I mean, she's one of those actors who is not afraid to come up with something. And I mean, I want that from
Yeah.
actors. My script is good, yes.
Mhm.
But I mean, what I want from actors is that they go on and tell me, hey, maybe I can do this line differently and so
Oh
on.
yeah.
And I don't want to disrespect the other actors in it, but some actors were just like, just following what's there and waiting for what I tell them.
hmm
And I kind of wanted to be, well, you tell me,
Yeah,
kind
it's
of,
always kind
right?
of
I
tough
mean,
to
like,
work with that. Yeah, it's tough
so
when somebody can't give you anything. It's easier to work with something that you're already getting. I feel like, if
yeah,
somebody's already giving you a type of performance, it's easier to see, oh, that could be different in this way, or oh, that's actually better than I thought it was going to be. Like I didn't even
yeah.
imagine that I could do it that way. That's when it's really good. When they do something, you're like, whoa, oh my God, I was not expecting that at all, but that was amazing. And it could be
So
better this way, this way,
in
this way.
in that scene, in that short film, it's not done yet. I still have to edit it, but there was written like that it's an apocalyptic setting, and she gets woken up by someone because like she expects that there's no one else on Earth anymore now. And
Mhm.
she gets woken up by someone, and she's supposed to like at the hallucination, just like throw a couple punches, just like in
Okay.
the air, not really at the guy.
Mhm.
And we changed it because we didn't have a prop, and then we changed it into something else, and it came that there was a conversation about you know the worst guys in history: Adolf, Goebbels,
Yeah.
Genghis,
Okay. Yeah.
and she said Goebbels with that American accent. So she said Goebbels. What do Americans
That's
say
funny.
like that? I didn't. So we made that part of the script.
That's funny.
So there is now a fight scene, which was supposed to be just like you throw a couple punches like in the air,
Uh,
and now it's she says Goebbels, and he corrects her Goebbels, and she kind of like kicks him, and the guy has like stunt training, so he kind of like that he catches her and puts her on the ground, like calm down.
oh, funny.
I didn't have that. It's so much better. I love it.
Yeah, that
So
sounds
yeah,
really
that's
interesting.
that's Zoe.
Dude, that's so sick, man. So are you guys currently working on any projects together besides this podcast?
Are we on? I guess a little bit.
Yeah.
We have some ideas and stuff, but whether or not we did a short film, or Jan did a short film, but I originally wrote a script.
Cool.
And it takes place in a therapist's office.
Love that.
And the catch is that the guy going to the therapist is her ex-husband. So it's just kind of like them having a conversation because they got divorced.
Gotcha.
And that goes from there. And that
So
is done already. It's in it. I think you're editing it, right, Jan?
Oh, cool.
we're still waiting for like the final touches. So like it should be completed by the end of the month.
That's awesome.
I played a main character. I directed it as well.
Cool.
I did it as part of a short theater evening, but I didn't direct it. I had someone else direct it, and he didn't do it very well, if I have to say. Kind of took
Okay.
out the humor out of it. I don't know. He kind of
Was it
didn't see
written
the humor.
for?
He didn't see the humor in the situation.
First time
Oh,
Jan's
cool.
really acting. And I saw some of the first cuts of it. And
Well, it's not the first time I was acting, but it's the first
first
time
time
I'm
I've seen you.
acting.
First time I've seen you.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with it. It
Oh,
was
that's
actually
awesome.
his personality was really good for the person that I had written originally. It's kind of a very anxious personality type.
Oh, gotcha.
And just a lot going on.
That's fun, man.
Jan was kind of perfect for it, just to sort of jump it around and stuff.
Right on. So did you originally write it for the stage or the screen?
I originally wrote it as a short story, if I remember correctly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you gave it to me just, already as a script for stage.
I did, yeah. I gave it to you as a stage play.
Okay, cool. Right on. Yeah, we run with like because I sort of got into that acting collective back in Chicago and met all those people. They're all obviously in the theater world much more so than the film world because Chicago's a big comedy theater and big theater town. And so they had been working on plays and stuff like a ton. One of the first plays of theirs I saw, they debuted it in their living room actually, and it was really good. And we're about to turn it into a feature film. This year. It turned out it was really nice. It won a bunch of awards as it went on. It wasn't always in the living room. That was just the early stages of it. But it actually weirdly worked because it's set in a living room in the apartment of a magazine collective, a collective of like creatives, artists, people like that. And so having it in their like sort of eclectic artistic living room just honestly felt perfect. And that's actually I saw that before I even knew all of them. I just got invited to it by one of my friends and I went, and it like the play actually, it sounds corny, but it like changed my life. Like it was so interesting at the time. It was like about like I was like probably about 23 or so, and it's about young artists like that who are coming to terms with the fact that they have to commodify their artwork to be successful as artists, or do they? It's like about the commodification of art and how capitalism forces artists to just grow and expand and turn their art into a business. And it's really interesting. It's just like a conversation between this group of artists, like I said, and this brand consultant that they bring in, who's my friend David, who's really funny. And he's like kind of like this really weird, absurd person who kind of makes the world like metaphysically transform around them. Like all of a sudden he's talking about like, oh, you guys should get into videos and put the magazine element of the magazine behind and just do videos. And then before you know it, they're like in a YouTube video, like doing a pitch for their new YouTube channel, and then it goes from there to like they own a compound and now they're running a cult. And now it's like an intergalactic, like crazy, like synergy thing. It's really wild.
They got to a cult. I didn't see that coming.
It gets far past a cult. If you actually think about it, there's a lot of similarities between YouTube audiences and cults. If you really like look at it, like they all have like a moniker that they live by, that they are those people like, hey, followers, but it's usually not followers if they're good, like what's his name, Logan Paul or whatever does Mavericks. These are my Mavericks, man. These are me and my Mavericks, dude.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mavericks, let's all go ahead and drink this Kool-Aid.
Come on, he has that drink, Prime. He literally has a drink, like his own sports drink. Yeah, that's like, his big scam right now. Yeah, he's trying to sell sports drinks. He calls it Prime. Get into your Prime fitness. And all those kids. I feel so bad because he targets children. Like 13-year-olds and stuff like that, and tries to market to them and do so like. That's what's kind of messed up about YouTube is it allows creators like him to market to kids in unethical ways because they do it in their content. It's about influencing. It's not about like doing like a traditional ad read. Whereas like if they did that, like obviously the ads on YouTube are, controlled and they wouldn't let kids watch like messed up ads, but they'll let kids watch Logan Paul and Logan Paul does and says whatever he wants. And he's advertising all kinds of crap just by being an influencer and using it in his videos, so really weird. But America's weird like that.
Yeah, and a lot of the best content kind of falls to the wayside because it doesn't have that effect of like, what the hell is this? What am I watching? It's ridiculous. And that ridiculous effect sort of grabs the attention. And you see that.
That and the consistency. That's one thing that like, I mean, love him or hate him, he's pretty consistent. And he there was a long time where he posted over 20-minute videos like once a day, which is crazy. I mean, that's more than a short film. That's a really long short film every single day.
Every day.
Just crazy.
They're a complete and utter grind, different, to format that by yourself or whatever he's doing in it. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even though he's a huge piece of crap.
Do you know him?
I don't want to give him too much props. No, I don't know that guy. No, I don't care. He's just he's a lame-o.
I honestly, based off of what you said, I had never actually watched him.
Oh yeah,
Let's Drink Prime. Like it's not.
Oh god, no! I don't watch it a ton. I just like am in the YouTube world. So when you're in the YouTube world, like the top creators like that, no matter what, they're going to get pushed to you. Like Mr. Beast is the big one right now. There's so many stupid videos about like how Mr. Beast like took his channel from $0 to $1 million, you know, or whatever. And people just like turn them into a topic or point of conversation because they're so popular that will then bring like, you know, attention to your channel. If you can put Mr. Beast in the title of your video, you know, chances are more people are going to see it probably, but only if like your video's about that.
I should title it, you know, your name, and then follow the topics we talk about, and it's Nicolas Cage and Mr. Beast.
Yes.
And that's gonna help us. Okay.
Honestly, if you do that, I'm telling you, there's probably a couple more people that'll watch this video.
I'm not adding Logan Paul because it didn't seem like it's gonna help us with his audience.
That might have negative effects.
Hashtag commodification of podcast, right?
Yeah, literally.
I think that was the play that you talked about. So like, it kind of reminded me when you talked about it. Is it like Tick Tick Boom?
We get that comparison a lot, and that is something that we are trying to attach ourselves to in a similar way because it does have a similar tone, it does have a really similar aesthetic, and we're trying to capture that like live performance feel. You know, that feeling of when you go to a play and you're watching someone perform and you're like, they're doing this in the moment and there's no stopping. You know, they're doing it. Even if they mess up, they're going, you know, like they're doing it. Tick Tick Boom. What's the other one? Birdman. That's another one that captures that energy that we're going for. You know, we want to do like slightly longer takes intermixed with stylized pieces. Another really big inspiration, I don't know if we talk about it a ton, but a big inspiration for us is Bo Burnham's Inside. If you guys have ever seen that comedy special, he speaks to a really similar audience that we want to speak to. It's a really beautiful, vulnerable stand-up piece. It's probably the most unique and creative stand-up piece I've ever seen, and really pushes the boundaries of what the format of stand-up comedy can be. He released it during COVID, so there was no audience, no anything. He filmed it in his house by himself. And what he was able to do stylistically is really interesting. He does a lot of style parodies, but through the form of video. So, you know, he does like YouTube style parodies, music video style parodies, all these kind of things flawlessly. And he shot it all by himself, which is really, really impressive. But then on top of that, you know, there's just such a vulnerable sort of live feel to a lot of like the takes or just the talking to camera that he does sometimes, and it's really fascinating, and it really spoke to young artists. Like you saw a lot of people commenting on it, like I think Willow, what's his name, Will Smith's daughter was really into it, and she was like tweeting about it a lot. It affected and like spoke to young artists in that way, because as a special, the themes heavily were like, what is stand-up? What is art? Why am I doing this? Why do I push myself to these insane lengths? And basically, like, I mean, in Bo Burnham's case, like borderline abuse myself to create art for other people. And why do I do that? You know, like it's just like a really vulnerable take on that and why people make art. And it was just done so expertly.
Can you answer those questions? What is stand-up comedy? Now, you know, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, it was easily defined when you had just Jerry Seinfeld, and that was it. And like Jerry Seinfeld was the only one who had an HBO special. Now it's not important who gets an HBO special, because there are no HBO specials. You get a Netflix special. Everyone can get a Netflix special. People I never seen in my life have Netflix specials.
Yeah, for
they
sure.
Talk there for an hour on stage, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, you know, like, after I saw Bo Burnham's, after I saw his, I was like, you know what? Stand-up doesn't have to be a thing in front of an audience. I mean, most people would, in the past, would say it's a live performance medium, and that's that, you know? And that's true to a large extent. I mean, stand-up is definitely a live performance medium. But I think at its most core, like its most basic, even more than that, like what Bo Burnham proved with Inside, I think, is that stand-up is an open dialogue between a performance and an audience. I think that's at its core what it is like if the audience can have an open dialogue with your piece and what you're saying, and it's performance based, you know, live performance based, doesn't necessarily have to be like in front of a live audience, but it's performed live or done live, I think that can still be stand up. I think it's just really just about the dialogue that you're having with the audience.
Zach, what's the name of the play that you're putting on?
Oh, of ours, it's called, in the movie, it's called Forsythian Dwellers Club, which is like the name of their fake magazine. It's called Forsythian Dwellers Club.
Cool. And so you're directing this feature film?
No, I'm not actually directing it. My partner, Mel, is directing it. She's a super talented director, actor, writer. She went to our same school and was in this collective with us, and she was actually the person that wrote and produced that web series that I was telling you guys about, that I met Zoe through. And so that's how we all met, is through sort of her work. She's really smart and is really good at this stuff. And I'm just helping out with producing and camera work on this one. I do direct a lot, like that's a lot of what I do, but I do so many other things for these people. Like, I mean, we're kind of to the point where as a collective, we're just so sort of in tune with each other and stuff that it feels like positionless a lot of the times. I like hearken it. I used to play basketball. So to me, like creativity and art and sports and basketball, they're like so the same to me. And I think about them in the same way all the time. And so to me, it's like a lot about like what the basketball is like nowadays. It's positionless basketball. You don't have point guards and centers and power forwards anymore. You have 5 guys who are all around the same height and guard everybody and switch off on everything, you know? And that's kind of how our team is, you know? Everybody acts, everybody writes, everybody directs, everybody's a creative, you know? Like we all switch off and we help each other and we do whatever we need to, you know?
Or I was gonna say, or you have a 7-foot-tall guy who can shoot threes.
Yeah. In the case of Jokic, he's a 101, man. He's a 101. Yeah.
Crazy.
So about what you just said, there's a. Have you seen The Great Train Robbery?
I've heard of that movie. Yeah.
Sean Connery, Donald Sutherland. I think it's like 1970 something.
Mm-hmm.
It's directed by Michael Crichton, one of the greatest authors in my opinion. He wrote Jurassic Park, right? You know the guy, even though you don't know the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the story about when he came to England to shoot the film. Well, Ireland, England. And the crew didn't trust him at first, and so on. And then when he gained their trust, he talked about how it was completely different from American set. How, I mean, there are no guilds and there's no positions. So you can just, you ask a grip to do this and he does it. And you ask this guy to do this. And it's not like, well, that's not in my contract. I'm a grip. I cannot touch that. Well, not the grip. I'm a DP. I cannot touch that cable.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. I've worked on sets like that before. It's a huge bummer. I hate sets like that. They suck, man. They're so not fun. Because it for me, it strips away why I started making movies. I didn't start making movies because I liked movies or because I wanted to be the next big movie maker. I started doing it because I loved YouTube videos and I was inspired by mail order comedy, like the guys from Workaholics, to make silly YouTube videos. So for me, making movies, making videos has always been about having fun and just like connecting with the people that I'm making the movie with. That's the most fun part for me. Not like, showing it in front of people and getting people's praise or like, having a ton of people watch it online or do anything like that. Just going through the process and having a blast doing an activity, which is movie making, is pretty much why I make movies. And it's always, I think it's more fun to think about it that way and to approach it that way, because I find that people feel way less stressed and way more open to creative ideas and creating in the moment, which is where I think movies can be beautiful and amazing. And there's so much like incredible like stuff that gets come up that people come up with in the moment on set when they're feeling creative. And I just feel like sets like that where people feel like, oh, I'm only doing this, I'm a little worker bee that picks up the stand and puts it down, like that kills creativity for me. Yeah, it's super limiting. I hate it, but it makes you great money, so you gotta do it every once in a while.
I gotta say, I think that's the community here in Prague, though, that it's just little worker bees that they do their job and that's it. There's not that much of a community here, and I've been trying to make something that's more of a collective, that's more in tune, that's more,
there's a level
like
though, everybody has to have the skills too, right? So that's another thing when it comes to movie making, and admittedly, like I don't know how to work any technology in filmmaking. I can write a script, I can act, can't do anything else. So, but I think that having and developing that experience across the gamut, including the technology, makes it a lot more fun, because then everyone can kind of just contribute in the same way.
Dude, 100%. And it's all about mindset too, like similar to what you're saying about Prague. Albuquerque's a union town. It always has been. People came and made films here in the early days of Hollywood out here in the Southwest, making American Westerns, which is the first and most unique American genre of film. And it's the reason why filmmaking exists in America, and one of the reasons why it exists all around the world. And so people have been coming here to New Mexico to make Westerns for decades, man, for probably over 100 years at this point. And it's always been a union town because of that. You can only find like lower wage workers, things like that. There's not a lot of people that come in here from Los Angeles to take advantage of the tax credit who are like, I'd love to hire my DP and director from Albuquerque. I could save a bunch of money doing that, and I bet they're really creative. Nobody says that. They're all coming in here to do their own thing, take advantage of low wage workers, and take advantage of the local economy that's been built and geared towards providing tax incentives towards those films. And they provide tax incentives to us too. We're excited to take advantage of it too, and we do. But what we're trying to do, and what I'm sure you're trying to do in Prague a little bit, is just change people's mindset about filmmaking and show them that independent filmmaking is viable and that it's not a dirty word. That a lot of times, in my instances, one of the reasons why I stay independent and what I love about it is not because I want to underpay people or abuse workers or do all this stuff, but because I want my sets to be more creative, free-flowing, and less departmental, and I want less people on set so that we can have a more intimate and creative experience as creators. And on top of that, I just want to give a voice and help people that can't fit into that traditional system. Not everybody can just work their way up this ladder for 30 years and become a DP one day. It doesn't happen that often, but people still want to be DPs, and people still want to create and make and do that stuff. And so independent work, you can pay people more than the union rates. I've made more on independent projects sometimes than I have on the union projects. People act like union is all about getting fair wages for everybody. And to a certain extent it is, but it's also can be very limiting in that aspect. In Chicago, when I worked for ABC, non-union, independent, shooting documentaries for them all the time, I made so much more money than I would have made as an audio mixer working for the union.
Now, was your original sort of background in actual videography, filming itself, or when you started out?
So when I started out, I really started out, I guess you could call it videography. I started out on my own. My first film ever was a Spanish film. I was in Spanish class, and I was a huge teacher's pet, and I love Spanish. To this day, I still dream in Spanish, even though I can't speak it that well. I can speak it at maybe a fifth grade level, but I love it so much. And my teacher, Miss Kukita Evans, was my favorite teacher, and she really encouraged me to take the video project seriously. I was like, I think I want to make a 20-minute video. She was like, go for it, do it. And it was really funny. Everybody really enjoyed it. It was a silly little video. And then she was like, hey, you really enjoyed that. Would you want to make a feature film together? And me and her sat down and wrote a feature film in Spanish together. Which was really cool. It was just a cheesy hero's journey sort of epic kind of thing, and we didn't film all of it, but that's really what ignited my love for filmmaking. And after that, I went to college in UMKC in Kansas City, and I started doing filmmaking there. But funny enough, they were teaching me how to make documentary films, and I make so many documentary films now. It's basically all I do for money. But back then I was like, poo-poo, I did not come to make documentaries. Ew, gross. No way. I want to make comedies. Why am I doing this? And so I talked to my teacher about it. And she was like, well, did you ever think about researching what kind of artists you like and why you started making art in the first place? That could give you some insight into what kind of path you need to take as an artist. And I realized that all my favorite artists were comedians, and that they had all started doing stand-up or doing improv. And so I immediately started doing stand-up in Kansas City. I did it for about 3 years before I moved away, did it in Chicago, and I transferred to a film school in Chicago. And that's where I learned to love movies. Studying films at Columbia College Chicago, and just getting super stoned and sitting in my dorm and watching foreign films from Germany and from Prague and all these other weird places. From long time ago, just learning to love movies for the visuals and the cinematic storytelling methods and stuff like that. That's what really got me into filmmaking more traditionally. And at that point, I was focused on directing and I wanted to be a director, and I still direct a lot. But, I just started doing lighting. I started doing sound once I did a bunch of lighting, and I was like gaffers on all these sets. One thing about Columbia that's really cool is it's like a trade school. It's not really like a traditional art school. You can just like start working on sets immediately. And I probably worked on 100 sets in my time at film school, which is what a lot of people complain about not being able to do. Yeah, they're like, oh, I didn't do anything. I just talked about movies the whole time. No, here they will put you to work. They will put you to work immediately. So I started working as a lighting guy, worked my way up doing that, was doing a bunch of projects doing that, and then was a DP for a while. And then people were literally, I kid you not, begging me to do sound for their project. People would come up to me and I would already be doing one for like the weekend for another student, and they'd be like, wait, you're already doing it for someone else? No, please, I'm begging you. You have to do it for mine. I'll pay you. Are they paying you? And I was like, no, they're not. Well, I will. And so that's how I started doing that, is like people literally like to scout me off other projects would just pay me to do audio. And then I met this crazy person on Craigslist named Max, who, does a ton of DP work in Chicago. I don't like him anymore. He's a bad person. But he did change my life. And I met him on Craigslist, and I went up to his house in Illinois. It's above Chicago in a little like rich person town up there. He lives in the house that Oprah built, is what he calls it, because he used to work for Oprah and she paid for his house basically through his wages. But he does so much documentary television. He's the first call for ABC, NBC. He used to do VH1's Black Ink. So I was on reality TV shows all the time doing that stuff. I basically traveled the world with that guy, shooting documentaries, doing stuff like that. And that totally got me into documentary filmmaking, which was funny because I never wanted to do it. But now it's one of my greatest joys. I love documentary filmmaking. I think it's one of the best ways for anybody to learn how to become a filmmaker really quickly. And really effectively. And just that's basically what I do primarily for work now, is I make independent documentaries here in Albuquerque.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Long story, but that's the whole journey so far.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I sure had some questions there, but then I was listening. Inquiry.
Yeah.
Wait, you seem like someone who knows your film history, and I always appreciate that in any filmmaker or an actor. And sometimes you come across of someone who, well, they don't really give a fuck and they don't know anything. Yeah. Right? Or you have those film students who just, they tell you, oh, Fellini, Tarantino, Scorsese, my favorite.
Yeah, I'm so bad with remembering names. So like, I just can't remember any of these people's names. But I can always talk about old movies, weird old foreign films. My favorite director of all time is actually Rainer Werner Fassbinder, who is this German director from the 70s. He's really cool. If you guys haven't heard about him, he's just one of the most unique figures in cinema history. He made over 40 feature films in a 13-year career. He had 13 years that he made films, and he made over 40 films, but it doesn't stop there. He made like 20 plays, acted in like 30 other people's films, made a huge like television like movie series that was like 6 or 8 hours long or something like that. And he did this all in 13 years, fueled by absolute madness and cocaine. He was so crazy. He died snorting cocaine and writing a script. Like he's literally that crazy. He's such a metal, like wild German dude. He'd make like 4 or 5 feature films a year, which was just nuts, dude. It was crazy at the time. People were like shocked by it, but the way he did it, this is what I'm inspired by him. Not just, I love his cinematic style. I could talk to you about his style for ages. But the one thing I'm really, truly inspired by him about is the way he was able to accomplish that was by creating a group, a collective of people that all worked on the same films together. Every single crew member, every single actor is the same across almost all of his movies. And they worked together so prolifically that they literally loved each other. They hated each other. They went through so many ups and downs, and the stories are insane. He had this movie called Beware of the Holy Whore. It's the end of he has 3 periods in his work, like throughout his history. It's the end of the first period. It's when he started gaining international fame and success. And it was literally after he made that movie after he had his biggest failure of all time. They wasted over $500,000, which was a lot of money back then. especially in Germany in the 70s, that was an insane amount of money. They wasted $500,000 on this terrible movie. And everybody that worked in it together, all the crew members, all his friends, hated each other. They could not stand each other. They literally were all at arms. And so the only thing that got them back together was this movie, Beware of the Holy Whore. And it's a movie about a film crew that royally screws up a shoot. It's literally the story of their last film about how they screwed each other over, and they all played each other. So they chose like a role that was another person that they didn't like, and they imitated each other's, literally like made fun of each other, and literally walked in each other's shoes for like a full month or so, just pretending to be each other. And after that, they were like literally inseparable. They went on to make Ollie, Fear Eats the Soul, like Chinese Roulette, Fox and His Friends, some of the greatest films in cinema history. They made together after that.
I watched a German horror movie yesterday with my roommate.
Oh, word. Right on, man.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called.
The Germans were really metal back then in the 70s. They were cool. I don't know if you heard about this, but they did a blood pact one year at a film festival. There was a huge studio system in Germany at the time, and they were just making like terrible, like basically like what is the equivalent to our like soap operas today. Like they're just making terrible movies. And so they all, Wim Wenders, Rainer Werner Fassbinder, all the what's that other one that's so popular? I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but he's like everybody's that they think of. Werner Herzog, all these people got on stage together and they made a blood pact where they cut each other and signed it in blood that they would make unique and interesting movies. Yeah.
I didn't expect
heads up. I
really didn't expect that you're gonna say Fassbinder, but whoa, okay.
Dude, he's my guy.
Ruin yourself, man. Yeah, I mean, what you described, I mean, the volatile relationship between Kinski and Herzog was always a roller coaster as well. So, but they're mad people, and that's why it's so unique.
Truly.
The whole oh my God, Fitzgerald, right? Where they pulled the steamboat across the jungle.
Oh, that movie. That was so crazy. He's insane for that one. That was crazy, man. My favorite Herzog is where he eats the shoe. Have you guys seen where he eats the shoe?
Yes.
It's funny, dude. I have not laughed that hard probably in my entire life. That is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, where he prepares and eats his own shoe. Like that was just too much.
I love his documentaries though. Like lately, when he comes up with a documentary, it's just something so unique, and it's a different take on something that we, encounter in everyday's life. Like there's that volcano documentary of his.
I don't know if I saw that one.
It was on Netflix only.
That sounds cool.
Just called Into the Inferno. Right, it goes so Herzog hard. It's just insane. So at first, it's a typical volcano documentary that maybe if you turn on Discovery Channel, you watch something like that. Cool. Mm-hmm. When he talks like to the tribesmen, and they talk about the volcano behind us, we treat it as a god. Then you have another tribesman, and they're like, yeah, we don't give a fuck about the volcano, and so on. And then he goes and somehow tricks North Korea to go into North Korea. And do a documentary about how it looks like in North Korea, and how they have the whole myth about, the volcano, and our previous leader, he's very connected to the volcano, which is true. And you have the military there and so on. And then somehow he goes into the metro. I'm like, what the hell am I watching now? It's a documentary about North Korea. It's just like he sneaks it into it.
That's so cool. That's really interesting. Fun.
Wow.
That's wild.
And then I recommend, if you've seen Lo and Behold, it's about the internet and the effects of technology now. So it's different. You have like, technology, great, awesome. And then you have people who are like, I cannot stay on, computer anymore. And they send the kid to a camp, to, desensitize from playing video games. And then you have people who are like, I cannot be in a city, because everything is just these microwaves, electromagnetism. They have to leave the city because everything's fucking technology now.
Oh, yeah.
So you get you have people who are very sensitive to this. So you have like the good stuff and the bad stuff.
Wow. Is that a newer movie?
I think that's like 6 years now.
Okay.
So he doesn't
Sounds
talk
cool.
about anything, right? It's a time capsule of the
Yeah, that's cool.
But Into the Inferno on Netflix, I can't believe I'm recommending a Netflix film here. Stop me, Tom. Uh, but yeah, Into the Inferno. He sneaks a North
That
Korea
sounds sick, man.
documentary into it. It's insane.
I watched a
That's pretty
Netflix
cool.
film earlier this week, dude. There's some decent ones out there lately.
Okay, man. Is it like a Netflix produced piece, you mean?
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah.
I watched it's called The Apostate.
Oh, cool. I don't know if I've heard that one. It sounds
like
The
cool.
what?
It's called
What
The
did you?
Apostate or The Apostle, something like that.
Is it with Dan Stevens,
Let's see.
the greatest actor of our generation? I always try to sneak that if I can into conversation. Because have
Okay.
you seen Legion? Have you seen Legion?
I have seen Legion. I haven't watched all of Legion, but I've seen Legion.
Why?
Yeah, I watch a lot of stuff.
And then they
It's
kind
not
of
as like lighthearted.
It's not very lighthearted, I guess, but it is very lighthearted, except what happens in second season, which is dark. And it uses a Tom Petty song in a dark sequence.
Oh, we
Tom
know
Petty.
you love that.
I love that scene.
Yes. I was just, what
I
the
do love
hell
that
is
scene.
going on?
You're a
Yeah,
big Tom Petty fan, huh?
I am. I'm a huge Tom Petty fan.
I love that for you.
I'm a huge
That's so
Tom
fun.
Petty fan.
How did you hear
So
Tom
yeah,
Petty for the first time?
huh?
How did you hear Tom Petty for the first time? Because that
How
feels
did I
like
hear?
an American artist
Okay,
that wouldn't travel
okay.
well.
If you, well, it's always interesting that if you have like non-Americans and how influenced by America they are,
Yeah.
because I mean I'm not supposed to be, but I am. Anyway, I have a very distinct memory of that. Thank you for asking. I did put it in a stage play once, which was a tribute to Tom Petty after Tom Petty died. I never
that's
been
awesome.
so devastated by a celebrity death as with Tom Petty. I remember that night clearly. Somehow I was alone just in my apartment. There was no one else. Happens. Anyway, when I heard first Tom Petty, so back when my grandma from my mother's side was still alive, we used to visit her at her house, which was this house outside of Prague. And she had this house with a huge garden, and she was an artist as well. That's where I get my artist genes, I guess.
Nice.
She was a painter and a sculptor, and she used to do one of those. Oh my God, what do you call when you're the person who you hire so they fix the sculpture?
Oh, a masonry person, like masons?
No,
sculptor.
no, I doesn't matter. She was doing a lot of stuff. Anyway, we went there and we always stayed a couple nights, and my dad always brought some albums with him. He has, so I have DVDs behind myself. He has CDs of music. His music.
Cool.
And and he brought some albums there, and he brought in Into the Great Wide Open.
Wow.
Right? So I remember Into the Great Wide Open as the first time I listened to it. And, it just stuck with me, Two Gunslingers.
I gotta say, you experienced Tom Petty in the most American way possible, which is being introduced to it by your dad. Like,
right, yes,
that's the most dad rock thing ever. Like, of course your dad introduced you to it. How did I not know? Like, that's how everybody gets introduced to Tom Petty at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine someone just walking into a concert and be like, "Who is this?" Yeah, I don't think that ever happened.
No, for sure. That's funny.
But
my dad loved dad rock, so that's how I heard too.
What is better than dad rock?
You know who introduced me to Tom Petty?
Yeah.
Who introduced me to Tom Petty?
Who?
Jan.
Oh,
I never really listened to Tom Petty. I knew who he was, obviously.
Funny.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
His obsession with it introduced it to you. That's fun.
It did. I was like, all right, Tom Petty, he's good. And then Jan just pitched him very, very hard to me. I started listening to some more of his music. I was like, all right.
Oh, heck yeah.
I dig this. Yeah.
He's got a nice chill vibe, He's on the chiller end of the dad rock. He's not on the metal end, for sure.
But, just that's underestimating the guy. I mean, he is on the same level as Bob Dylan.
Oh,
whoa,
for sure.
whoa.
Yes, he is. He is one of the
I can't
best
go there.
craftsmen and storytellers in America that you have.
He's a great
I
craftsman.
stand by that.
Yeah,
I
he
agree.
is an Americana artist too.
He totally is.
He's
However,
got the Americana vibes.
But again, just
you know me.
simplification.
I can't put him on the same plane as Bob Dylan in my head. I'm sorry.
It's
But-
sort of like comparing someone who's on Mount Rushmore to someone who's just like, you know, in a museum and they have like a statue in the museum. Like, it's pretty cool that they have a statue in the museum, but they're not on Mount Rushmore, you know.
I think it's safe to compare him
That's
to
how I
that same
believe. I
level
agree.
when you have the traveling billboards, right?
Okay, I see.
So you have Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison, and Tom Petty.
Yeah.
And
right. I'll
Jim
grant you that.
Kilter on the drums, right? I mean, you cannot forget the guy, but everybody forgets the guy.
Greatest super band. One of the greatest super bands.
Bob Dylan was by far the worst singer in that super band. If you watch some of the scenes on YouTube of him trying to, when they're doing their first cuts and everyone's singing and then he tries to keep up, and it's just like
not handling it. Yeah, he might be. I mean, no offense to the late great Bob Dylan, he's amazing, but he might be one of the worst, greatest singers of all time. Like, just like talent wise. Yeah.
I mean, I love Bob Dylan, but he sometimes.
But affectionately, you know, that's what makes his songs good. Is that he's not good at singing. Yeah.
Like Tangled Up in Blue, he's just
exactly
screaming the whole time. But it's
have you seen any of these guys in concert?
Me, I've definitely seen a lot of dad rockers. I haven't seen the two that we just said. What are the dad rocks I've seen? I've seen Van Halen. That was my dad's favorite band, so that was like a big one for him. So I saw Van Halen. I've seen, this isn't dad rock, but this is old too. I've seen Parliament Funkadelic like 3 or 4 times, and they are awesome, dude. They're all the jam, dude. They're really cool. They're like a jam band, funk band. I don't know if you know about them, Jan, but they were like this weird funk group in the 60s, 70s that was like made up of all the best performers from all the other funk bands. Like basically all of James Brown band members that quit, all of like, you know, Otis Redding's band members that quit and stuff. Like they all joined together under George Clinton's direction, who's like the bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay guy. They made some of the trippiest, weirdest albums where they all just like tripped acid and pretended that they were aliens from space that were colonizing Earth with funk music. And it was really weird concept albums from like the 70s on for like really weird funk stuff. They used to get up on stage and dress up in like diapers and shoot lasers at each other. And like they do all kinds of crazy stuff. And now George Clinton, the guy that runs it, is like 90. He's so old, but he smoked crack for 10 years of his life. Like between the ages of like 20 and 30, he smoked crack. And he is so old still and kicking, dude. There's some concerts that are missed where he just like has to sit down the whole time and he's really tired, but some of them really hit and he's like dancing and going crazy and it's fun.
Let's check that out.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So those are my older school bands that I've seen. Yeah.
Are you a fan of jam bands typically, like Grateful Dead?
A little bit. I'm not the type that would follow them around everywhere. Nor am I the type that's going to like explain them to my friends or like you know, like subject other people to their music. You know, but I do really vibe with the vibe of jam bands, especially like live music jam bands. You know, if you're seeing them live, it's obviously so much better. And bands like Parliament, Santana, lots of Latin jazz. People wouldn't normally consider Latin jazz players like jam bands per se, but they improvise so much, obviously, because it's jazz music, and they jam so freaking hard. And Albuquerque is one of the dopest places to listen to Latin jazz. It's like one of the number one things people do here. There's Latin jazz bands here that have been performing together for like 45 years, like forever. There's some that have been like they haven't all been performing together because it's a band that spans multiple generations. But there's some mariachis here who are their band's over 100 years old. Like very, very old. And it's like I said, it's multiple generations like of families who have been mariachiing together for that long, but the band is still together and it's been over 100 years and it's just so crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool culture and music in New Mexico that not a lot of people know about. I work on the show, or helped produce the show called Bands of Enchantment. We actually won an award for it, which is pretty cool. But it's a show that's about showcasing Albuquerque and New Mexico to the world. It's supposed to be kind of like a postcard to Albuquerque, and we showcase a lot of like local culture, local bands, local artists, and also some international acts that are really cool too, to kind of like, you know, balance out the set list. And one thing that's kind of unique but interesting about New Mexico is we don't have a lot of international acts that come here, you know, to perform. Like, you're not going to see The Weeknd at a big mega theater somewhere here in Albuquerque. Like, he's not coming. You know what I mean? So it's hard to get people to come here for that. And the show also serves a purpose in that way too, to try to get bigger acts to perform here and see New Mexico as a stop on their journey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got hip to this jam band maybe a month ago. Called Karingbin. Yeah.
They popped up on my Spotify. I don't know much about them, but I've heard one of their songs.
Yeah. I like them. I just throw them on in the background. They have a ton of songs.
They're one of those bands that you can just listen to and do other stuff, which is what I like about a good jam band too, is they can just be back there doing their thing like the house band, you know, and you're just like doing my own thing. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Doing my laundry, cooking myself.
Yes, exactly, man. Oh yeah. So when did you move back to New York during COVID, didn't you, Tommy?
Yeah, 2020.
What was that like? Was that crazy having to get out of that country?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of stayed in Prague till July of 2020. So it was actually, if I remember correctly, it was okay in Prague.
You guys weren't banned.
No, and it wasn't like shut down 100% in the very beginning. I mean, it did. We shut down for a month, and then things got kind of better.
Gotcha.
And then this was why
you took the pandemic seriously and you mitigated it.
Yes. However, they took it seriously initially.
Yeah.
And then all those guardrails sort of were removed. So over 6 months, essentially, the cases compounded and compounded, and it got pretty bad. If I'm not mistaken, Jan, right? It got worse like fall of 2020.
Oh, yeah. That's when it got worse here too, man. Not gonna lie. That was when I caught it for the first time. Was in fall of 2020. Yeah, just on a film set. You know, the worst place to catch it, because then the whole I don't know if you guys worked on film sets like for production companies during that time, but I worked on a couple, and oh my god, anytime anybody had a sniffle or anything, it was like lockdown. Get them out of here. We gotta. It was like really sensitive, because movies, obviously, as you guys know, time is money, and like if you have to cancel the whole production day because somebody got sick, I mean, the amount of money that would waste is incredible. It's like insane. I mean, movies in general just waste incredible amounts of money, but that would just be nuts. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, everything equipment wise and whatnot, you get the rental. Someone's sick, you have to re-rent it probably anyway.
Oh my gosh, clean all that stuff. There was people that would come in to, depending on the set, of course, every set has its own little standards, you know. But depending on the set, they would hire cleaning crews to come in and spray like disinfectant all over everything, and you'd have to turn your equipment over to people at the end of the night so they could clean it and stuff. And yeah, they got pretty serious about it. Some productions did. Reality TV shows, oh my god, they were like, if you bring a mask to work, that would be tight.
Isn't that still happening, like the whole COVID procedures on film sets? Or
you know, on the ones that I've been on, at least it's definitely less and less the case.
But there's still like some testing,
much bigger ones. Yeah, probably some. I honestly, there was a really long time these past 2 years where I had to just have an updated COVID test on file at all times, because people wouldn't hire you without like an updated COVID test in the past 6 weeks or whatever. But that has loosened a ton. Like, I have not had really anybody ask me. There'll be sets where we'll take the test on the set, you know. But there's been very few people nowadays who have been like, do you have a test on file? Can you prove to me that you don't have it right now before I even hire you? Like, you know, that's chilled out a lot. And of course, you know, we primarily work like on our own client work. Like I've shifted a lot in my world. I don't really work for like networks or TV shows as much. We produced some stuff for Discovery Channel last year and do this thing with PBS, Bands of Enchantment. But outside of that, I don't like crew as much on bigger projects like that. It's mostly like direct to client stuff. Like we work with trucking companies that want to recruit drivers and make like really cool documentaries about what it's really like to be a truck driver, stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's actually really cool. You'd be surprised how many like just normal ass people want to just make a ton of money, work like 5 hours a day and hang out with their family all the time. That just drive trucks. That's pretty much what the job is about. You work for 4 hours and then you make so much money and then you go.
There's that joke that, or someone said on a podcast or something. My friend said this: the smartest people in the whole country are truck drivers, because all they do all day is drive. Obviously, there's a lot of lifting and whatnot, but those podcasts all day.
Yeah, literally just chilling out. Yeah, it's like for the right person, some people can't do that. Some people have to like be on their feet or like doing stuff or have tasks, but if you're definitely the type of person that enjoys letting your mind drift off to places, like doing stuff like that. I mean, of course you don't want to be unsafe, but if you're the kind of person that can handle driving a lot, being on the road, doing that kind of like, I don't know if I'd call it mundane, but just like less like brain intensive type of work. Which I totally kind of am. I don't drive a truck, but I probably could because I'm just so kind of chilled out like that. And I love listening to podcasts and doing stuff like that. But,
I love the news. I love audio plays. I love all that shit. So
my God, I'll listen to NBA podcasts all day. All day long, I'll listen to NBA podcasts. And I'll listen to the same ones sometimes, like a psycho, just to catch parts that I missed. Yeah, man. So that stuff's really chill. But we make a lot of videos for them. We do documentaries about plants, documentaries a ton. We just got an FX6, which is the most incredible documentary camera I've ever touched in my life. It's so freaking cool. And the amount of stuff you can do with it is just mind blowing. I can't believe it, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think, Jan, what do we, in terms of projects, I don't even, we're doing like a comic book, that sort of thing, I think you asked.
Oh, sick. That sounds fun,
the one thing we're doing right now.
That's
cool.
It's
gonna be a comic book now. I mean, we've been dabbling with which medium to go with. So because like a short film is too much money, animated one, and then TV series as well. You need a bunch of animators because one animator could do it on his own.
True.
So
yeah, that'd be tough.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do comic book.
That's cool.
And
it's a great way to start an animation too.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's another thing afterwards, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That was when I used to for a while I was kind of sort of producing a show for Adult Swim. It was called Will You Be My Daddy? And I say kind of because they don't anymore. They used to have this streaming service where it was the Adult Swim stream, and it was unique from like the content was unique from their TV programming. It wasn't always like TV programming, they'd have like unique shows and stuff on there. And so they would actually, the way they greenlit shows on there is they had a show where they would take pitches from anyone for shows for Adult Swim. And like we tried so many times to get on there, finally did. They paid us to make a pilot. They were like, yeah, you win. Like you won. It's like kind of like in a game show format of like, oh, like you get this money if you like, have the best idea or whatever of the night. And so we won. They paid us to do that. And there was tons of people who like I just throughout that process that were pitching them, of course. And I listened to a lot of them like painstakingly. But some of the best animation pitches, because they get a ton of them as Adult Swim, were all comics first, or originally started out as comics, because it's just a really nice, fun visual way to show people what the style and tone of the piece is going to be.
That's totally a fact. I mean, there's a competition which deals with this.
Oh, cool.
Exact purpose.
Sweet.
It's a competition where you can, just subject a comic book script. It doesn't even have to be a comic book already. A comic book script, and because that's a way how you can make it into a feature, short or whatever. So
sweet, dude. That's a really smart idea.
It's still very new, but the whole premise of the show, I won't go into it too much and ruin it, but we took the expression "pie in the sky."
Okay.
Jan was like, what the hell does this mean? Pie in the sky. And
that's funny.
We kind of created the whole show based off of this expression.
Wow. Okay, that's really funny.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is to blame. I mean, that's how the first time I've heard it.
That's so funny.
Do you follow his website Hit Record?
I don't know if I do. What's that about?
Well, it's like an online community for people who just want to create art.
Really? Very
Like
cool.
you post a photo and you write to people, well, write a poem based on the photo, or
Oh,
What's this called?
you hit record, like
hit record.
when you have a video camera, you hit record.
Really? Is that
Oh,
how
nice.
I didn't know.
That's cool.
No, but yeah, I mean, so back to that again, to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because I mean, I think what he created with this is astounding.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that he had a website like that. That's really interesting.
He does, and he sends these newsletters from time to time, and he has a newsletter which is kind of like something that I'm inspired for the next short film that I want to do, and Tom would be in it finally.
Oh, sick.
Because he's an actor. He's an actor.
I have to grow my hair out. I used to have hair down to here.
Sick,
and not down to here. What are we crazy?
It was long. It was like here.
Okay,
and then Jan saw me with short hair. He's like, "What are you doing?"
I need you to have long hair.
Yes, that was our conversation before you connected.
Oh, that's sweet.
But yeah, he has a conversation there about that time his short film got rejected from Cannes. And it's about why you do art. Is it for you or is it for them? So
cool.
you have some art which you do for audience, and it's this whole newsletter. And to me, it just contains everything. Why do you do this? Right, and you should do it for yourself, but of course you have to do it for some audience. And anyway, you can find it on his website as well. So, are you doing it for money?
Why do you bleed yourself from? Why do you bleed from the brain? That's what, in essence, we're asking ourselves. Why do you have this need to bleed your brain onto a piece of paper?
Funny. Yeah, that's funny.
Right. So I think that's like the main premise of the next short film. It's about a painter. Do I have to? Should I say this, Tom, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
All right, it's about a painter.
I don't know. You're putting Mr. Beast in the title, so there might actually be a lot of people watching this.
No, wait. It's about a painter, and she's trying to, break into the paint word industry. I don't know what to call it. Just into that word.
Game.
What?
Cool.
I said I think it's called the paint game.
A paint game. Okay, that's good. That's good. Paint game. All right.
We're getting that paint life.
That's right.
And she gets help from her guardian angel.
Oh, cool.
Hence Tom.
You're gonna be the guardian angel with the long hair.
Yes.
Love that, dude. Very cool.
And well, not that long. Please don't go crazy, but give it longer.
Yeah. Like Jesus length,
I could do that. Give me 6 months.
But yeah, and her guardian angel is very inept at his job.
Oh, that's fun.
And
I love that.
Then we sneak into this conversation that we just had, commodification of art, which you mentioned as well.
I love it. Sort of the omnipresent fool type, almost like a Hermes type.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Right
yes.
You know what? I might wear sandals.
Oh, that'd be sick, man. Like some winged boots.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, man. Or winged sandals. You could put some.
Like Greek
some wings
style.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little nod of the cap to the old Hermes.
Mm.
Yeah, man. I love that archetype. Somebody the other day told me I was so like that. They were like, dude, you just remind me of the archetype, the fool, like the Hermes. I was like, damn, bro, are you complimenting me?
Well, Hermes is smart, right? You're a god. You got a divine present, and then there's the fool on the diet. So I don't know.
That's the thing they were telling me is like it depends on if you're playing the fool or if you're really foolish. And both can work out because there's a sort of blind luck associated with being foolish for types of people like that, which I was like, okay, now I'm starting to agree with what you're saying. I do have a lot of blind luck or like beginner's luck. I have the craziest beginner's luck. I swear anytime I try something for the first time, I'm just unnecessarily good at it and then terrible at it from then on. That's how movies happen for me too. I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Yeah, a bit of a jack of all trades, if you will. Yeah.
I always like that term. Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Tom, do you know what what Zach just described now?
No.
Something that's innate to Czech culture?
Something that's innate to Czech culture?
Yeah.
No, what's that?
No.
Okay, so you just described Czech culture, by the way, what you just
sick.
talked about. So we have this book, we have this novel, Good Soldiers Schweig. And it's about a guy who, well, he doesn't want to go to war. Well, it's about a lot of things, but he doesn't want to go to war.
Okay.
The First World War. And he's playing dumb.
Nice.
But is he dumb? And that's Czech people.
Yeah.
You know, we rather just, do like we don't want to do this, so we just like play stupid and so on. And are we? I don't know.
Hey, I would fit in there then.
You describe that.
You should
I
go.
think you would
You spend some time over there. Yeah, it's great beer.
Do you guys have cheap beer too? I heard you guys have cheap
beer.
You like beer?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Okay. All right. Then you got to go.
Oh man, gotta go. I love it. Okay, I'm in.
It's like $2 for a Pilsner.
Oh my
well,
God.
inflation now. Inflation, okay? It kind of went up, but still.
250. Okay. That's awesome though. That's sick. It sounds really fun. I would probably definitely fit in with people that act like that too. That type of personality type, because I mean, if you get like a couple people like that in the room, then you all just start pretending to be stupid, and then before you know it, you're all saying some of the funniest stuff you'll ever say in your life.
That's definitely true. Yeah.
Good pals, man. That's fun.
Guerrilla theater going,
Yeah. It's a nice protection skill too. Like, please don't hurt me. I'm innocent and nice.
Yes. Would you hit someone with glasses?
Yeah. Would you hit someone that just looks so precious? Come on.
Cool. Should we navigate to the wrap here, Jan?
Yeah. How do you guys have a special wrap-up routine?
That's fine.
We do kind of.
I think
somebody has to call it in. Just like this is it. We call it a day. But all right, let's just like trip like a little quick quiz on him, and then we wrap it up.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I had some questions that I wanted to wrap with.
Oh, right.
So some.
Then go.
Yeah, I guess firstly, sort of what you're currently watching or enjoying.
Oh, cool.
Sort of what else, what you're working on right now or finishing up, other than you have that one project going on, the play, and then maybe just pitch kind of what you're doing real quick, sort of, and I don't know if we have enough time, but I'm asking you to say a lot in a little bit here, but with regard to the community that you're building and the commodification of art, and that speak a little bit to that.
Okay, man.
Wrap up there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to drop your handle.
Online. Oh, word. Yeah, I will do that. So I'll just do that first. My handle is well, so we have two. I'm let's_goof, which is so easy to remember. It's just let's goof, and then through that you can find our company Tangerine Dreams. We post other stuff on there. It's not always just like cross posting and stuff like that. Usually we'll try to like make it a little unique and focus more on our creative content for Tangerine Dreams. And I guess that's a nice segue because that's what we're trying to do to build a creative economy here in New Mexico and in Albuquerque specifically, is creating our own authentic and niche content that we can distribute and market not only locally here through like cool events and interesting just different ways for people to engage with cinema, but also online and throughout the world and stuff like that too. Film festivals, all that, of course. One thing that we really want to do differently, that we love about New Mexico, that we're so inspired by, is that New Mexico is always been a place for two things, and that's art and tourism. Seriously, like our biggest export has always been art or culture, and then second biggest is tourism. That's like one of the biggest money makers in the state. And so we're really inspired by that. We want to rethink movies and think about like, because like, ever since COVID and stuff, people haven't been going to the theaters as much. Totally makes sense. I get why people don't want to go to theaters to spend money on movies. I'm not going to be like, Tarantino or Spielberg and, complain about it. Like, I'm not one of those filmmakers. I get why people don't want to do that. But there are reasons for people to go see movies. And it's because, like, I think it's getting to a place where a movie needs to be an event. It needs to be something greater than just a movie. it's not big enough selling point to be like, well, we have air conditioning in the movie theater still, like that's not a selling point anymore for people. People have comfortable air conditioned homes now. They don't need to go see movies on the big screen as much. But we want to imagine a world where people would travel to New Mexico to see one of our films independently, of course. Like we want to independently release and find interesting ways to build events and cultural things around the movie itself to make it more than just a movie, to make it an experience. Somebody that's already doing that out here who's really cool is Meow Wolf. They're just this really cool multidisciplinary art collective / just like installation in Santa Fe, New Mexico that started years ago. It's a really weird collection of just like artwork and like storytelling and film and media and projections and all this crazy stuff that you could never imagine. It's like Universal Studios on acid. It's so crazy. And we're really in the same vein. We love making trippy, funny, weird, absurd, avant-garde movies. And so we're trying to really imagine like, how can we take the success of companies like A24 and companies that merchandise and do really cool things for their movies, like Universal, who are bringing people to a park to experience like experiences that are built out around their movies. How can we approach that on an independent level and bring people to New Mexico to watch our silly, weird movies? And we started it. We've done little events. We're Tangerine Dreams, so we have this event called the Dream Labs, and it's sort of this event where we dress up like scientists and make like weird, like sort of like short film accompaniments about like experiments that are going wrong or like stuff like that. And we try to use that as a way to let people see the content that we're experimenting with and showing, or like experimenting with and like creating. Because as people that make short films, like you make a short film and then like you edit it for a million freaking years until it's perfect, and then like 12 months later you come out of the editing hole that you've been in and you're finally ready to show people it, and you just feel like all this time has passed you by. And I don't mind showing people my work when it's unfinished, or when it's in the beginning stages, or when it's still being experimented on. Stuff like that helps me, and that's was the original intent of the Dream Lab. Let people in on the creative process, let people in on the experience in a raw and more unfiltered way, and then have like content around it that we've made that's more like nice, picture perfect, whatever you want to call it, that kind of tells a through line, a story about these scientists who are experimenting with video. Just a silly, kitschy thing to sort of like provide a vessel to show our experimental short films that we're working on, And so we do a lot of that stuff. We're making a lot of music videos, trying to collaborate with the arts and culture community here, because a big thing about just creating a film economy or a creative economy in general, especially independently and locally, is banding together and putting your resources together and just trying to drum as much like just notice and intrigue about it as possible. And like I said, live music is already huge here in Albuquerque, and we help produce one of the biggest live music television shows that's ever been made in New Mexico. And we love music so much. We love working with artists, and music videos are just a fun, easy, creative way to be a creative music or a creative video maker, and to also just like impact the community, help people, get your name out there, do stuff like that. And so we've been doing a ton of collaborations like that, just creative work in general. And we're cooking up another web series, but haven't quite made it there. We're trying to focus on a feature film right now, because that is a massive undertaking. And that is our next big project. We're going to be shooting that in November after season 3 of Bands of Enchantment, that music television show. We're going to be shooting our first feature for the first time. We haven't done a feature like this yet as the main production team. We're really excited about it. We have $50,000 locked down in funding so far, trying to raise a little bit more just to take us over the edge, but are totally prepared to make the movie for that budget. And yeah, we're just preparing for that in November. And then I believe I'm forgetting one of the other questions you asked me is what I'm watching right now.
Yeah.
And then what was the middle question that you asked me? Because I answered the last one first.
I think it was
totally blanking.
Yeah, I think it was, what are you watching? What are you enjoying?
Yeah. So the NBA finals are over. Sad face. I was just being an NBA hound for so long. But now that I can't do that anymore, I don't watch. I do watch a lot of movies and TV shows for like artistic value, loving them, stuff like that. But when I'm watching stuff like averagely or most of the time, I want something to turn my brain off to. I think and look at videos and stuff like that for a job all day long. Like I edit all day long, do stuff like that all day long. So when it comes to the end of the day and I'm ready to watch something, like I usually want to turn my brain off to it, And so right now, my favorite thing to do that too is this weird little documentary series called Flavorful Origins. Just this weird, cool documentary series on Netflix about China and where their most unique food comes from and like the history of it. And they have just this really cool documentary style of like using macro, like videography and macro shots of food to like contextualize it further and give deeper meaning to it. And they really examine food as like a cultural, like storytelling, like medium, more so than just like this delicious thing that you eat or whatever. Like it's just a different take on food that I find truly fascinating. And they're only like 15 minutes. Like you can blaze through episodes of this stuff. Like I finished the first 2 seasons or 3 seasons and just rewatch it over and over and over and over again now at this point, because it's so easy to just turn my brain off and chill and listen to this chill person talk about how food impacts culture.
That's awesome. I think I definitely have some friends who would enjoy that. So I'll have to.
It's a great series that falls under the radar. Yeah. And then we're watching we watch all the stuff on HBO, the series and stuff. I mean, I shouldn't say all of it because we turned that Icon series on that everybody's been like, kind of controversying about. And we turned it right back off, dude. It was bad.
What is Icon? I haven't even heard of it.
It's the series that The Weeknd's in. Yeah, it's got this controversy because they've got
Idol.
Oh, Idol. Sorry. Yeah, I said Icon, but I meant it's called Idol. Yeah. But it's got Johnny Depp's daughter in it or something like that, and The Weeknd. And the whole big controversy with it is that just like they brought in Sam Levinson, the dude that did Euphoria, and it's just like another one of his like cringe, weird, just
it's rape. It has a rapey vibe.
It's just really gross.
Weeknd in it as an actor, not as a musician, but as an actor. It's just sleazy, rapey. It's weird.
Sort of the worst part about it too. I don't know if you've heard about the behind the scenes of it, but The Weeknd tried to method act his like rapey character, which is just like so uncomfortable and weird for him, who like already has his own controversies around that stuff. Like he's already been well documented for like abusing women and stuff like that. And so it's just really weird that he wanted to approach it from like a method point. It just really feels like a way of like him being like, I just want to be a shitty person and not held accountable for it, And then on top of that, they refilmed the entire season, dude, because the first season they tried to like do the sort of like progressive thing and have a woman director do it. And the Weeknd, quote unquote, hated her so much and just disrespected her and just like was not happy, I guess, with like how she directed the series in like a feminine perspective, which is why they hired her. And so he fired her. And after they had shot the entire season, they hired Sam Levinson to reshoot the whole thing.
That's wild.
Which is just also just a massive waste of money, time for something that's already like I watched the first like 15 minutes and I was like, this is shit. Like this is smutty shit.
I'd be curious.
Like, you don't need to remake this.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what the first cut looked like with the other director.
Right. That would probably be a far more interesting
It was a different
film.
story. It was a different story, right? Altogether.
It's trying to say something, but it's not. That's like another really confusing thing. They have like this filmmaking style in the show, or at least what I saw in the first couple minutes, where they're like trying to draw attention to an issue. They're trying to like, but it's doing that like thing that I just hate that like modern films do, where they're like, we're making a statement by being realistic. Like that's not making a statement. That's not taking a stance on something. That's not adding creative or artistic intent to something to just make something that's brutally realistic, by showing people what it's really like, like that's not taking a stance on something. That's not saying that this behavior is bad. If anything, it's like, it's maybe like glorifying it in a way, more so than it is like taking it down or criticizing it or being satirical, which I think this series is trying to do. Is it's trying to be satirical because of the way that they're filming it. That implies satire, like the way they're shooting the series, holding on shots, trying to make things feel weighty and important. But the content is not there. There's nothing that they're satirizing. They're in fact the perpetrators of the thing that they're trying to satirize.
It's crazy.
It's like people in power trying to satirize themselves or something. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah. Do you know that Sam Levinson is a Nepo baby?
Oh yeah, I'm not shocked to hear that.
Is he He's the son of
boy's a nepo baby. What?
No, he's a son of Barry Levinson, right?
Oh yeah.
I never realized. I never realized it until now when they had that huge article about like nepo babies.
I never really watched Euphoria. I never.
Oh really? I've seen every episode.
Is it good?
You know, I guess it depends on what kind of stuff you like. I am somebody who used to love shows like Degrassi, Skins, all these other shows. Like I watched that stuff when I was a kid.
I like that stuff too.
I love that stuff. Yeah. And so this,
I watched One Tree Hill as a kid.
Oh yeah, dude, you would like it. Then you would like it because it's the next in that. It's the next generation of that teen drama, you know, of that teen line of things. But man, it really takes it over the top. There's times when you're like, couldn't these people just be college students though? Do we have to say that they're high schoolers in this story? It's really kind of creepy and over the top and disgusting that Sam Levinson, the creator of this, really wants to tell us stories about high schoolers doing all this stuff. That's what's kind of like, oh, and they've received so much criticism for it that in this next season, the third season, they're going to fast forward to when they're all in college because they've just received so much criticism for the high school thing. And I mean, dude, when you watch it and you see it all the way through, you'll be like, everybody's reaction is like, I can't believe high schoolers are doing this shit. Like, I can't believe they're showing this as like, and they definitely like romanticize it. I mean, that's Sam Levinson's whole thing. I think Sam Levinson is one of the highest paid porn directors and highest regarded porn directors. He makes smut porn, dude. He makes fucking snuff films. You know, he makes like stuff that people would like criticize you for and like would ruin your career over in years ago. Like he's making
8 millimeters with Nicolas Cage. 8 millimeters with Nicolas Cage. It's the same thing.
Oh, it's smut. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not this hoity-toity guy that's like, you know, just like, oh, poo-poo, you know, if it's not this grand cinematic. My favorite movie of all time is Hot Rod, you know, with like Andy Samberg in it. So like, I'm not like somebody who's like very snooty about film stuff, but I just like, I can't stand to see people get paid millions and millions of dollars to make fucking smut.
Yep.
We have unique original ideas.
I mean, what do you just in that vein, like Quentin Tarantino? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That movie.
You loved it?
I don't know if I'd consider that in the same vein of Sam Levinson at all. Sam Levinson definitely takes it a step further, I would say, than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I wasn't enthralled by that movie. It's probably my least favorite of Tarantino's movies, to be honest. Just because I like Tarantino because of his like outlandish style. You know, I'm not one of those people that was like, ooh, Tarantino's just writing the best dialogue. Like, ooh, man, I love that stuff. Like, I didn't care. I love watching Kill Bill. I love watching bloody, gory scenes, crazy fights, sequences, stuff like that. You know, whenever he tried to like make something that was like more dialogue driven and about that, and he's like, I mean, I can just see him I mean, it just, that movie to me just felt like his weird, like his weird obsession with Hollywood. Like I know that he has like this sort of like gross obsession with the actress who was not like the actress who actually played that lady, but like the actress she was playing. Like I forget what her name is, but the lady that Margot Robbie played, whatever her real name is as an actress, he has this really weird obsession with her, and he like made this statement like after the movie came out that was like something creepy of like, I've really studied her and just obsessed over her, and I think that even though she's dead, she can smile down on this and really know that I was like doing her justice and that I was like, you know, like the bastion of her real voice. But it's well known that he like also like took things out of historical context for it and just like changed things, you know? So it's like his own interpretation that he's trying to like say is like what she would have wanted. I don't know. It just seems weird to me that he's like that obsessed with her that he would make a whole movie so that he can make foot porn about that actress.
Oh my God, right?
We discussed this just the last episode.
Moment, I'm not going to lie.
We discussed this just the last episode, and I think that movie is just masturbation.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it seems like
just masturbating. It's It's 2 hours 40 minutes.
It's
And
too
I
long.
mean, like my parents, they always were like, okay, yeah, Tarantino, I'll watch it. It's probably gonna be fun, right? Because they were there when Pulp Fiction happened, right?
Yeah.
And then I told them, well, it's 2 hours 40 minutes, and they're like, well, shit, isn't
So
it even
long.
longer? I forget now. Anyway,
So
that movie
long.
has no plot. Why
No, it doesn't.
doesn't we talked about this last time? But you want to go again, Tom?
No,
Go.
no. I think
You brought it up.
I think we should. We agree.
Okay, that movie is disrespectful to Sharon Tate and her memory.
That's her name, Tate.
Even
Yeah.
though he saves her, you don't mention Roman Polanski, who you all claim is such a controversial figure. But anyway, the guy had his wife murdered, and you don't mention him in the movie?
It's weird.
I don't know. Kind of mention him. But still, okay.
And
Anyway, the plot doesn't make any sense because
It
Brad
doesn't.
Pitt goes to that compound of those fucking hillbillies, and they are not the same hillbillies who go and attack him in the end. Why wasn't it the Manson family?
Yeah.
I thought he
I don't get
understands
it either.
scripts. He doesn't understand scripts in the
I'll
end.
be honest too. I fell asleep during the movie. I fell asleep.
Cool,
I was
good.
sitting in a really comfortable chair, and I fell asleep for like 30 minutes or something. Like when he started talking to the actress, like Leo's character, Leonardo DiCaprio, when he started talking to the girl, and she was like, "I'm really smart. Look at me. I got this book. I'm reading a book." I can't remember the scene that well, but that's like the gist of it. She's like, "I got a book, and I'm smarter than you think I am." I was just so bored. I was just like, I just fell asleep.
I think we could definitely. I hate to wrap it here, but
no, I'm not done
I think
yet.
we gotta do a part two at some point.
I want to ask you this.
Okay.
What is the point of Tarantino's films?
His movies?
Yeah, what's the point?
I truly think
What's the
point,
meaning?
I think the meaning is only inherent to him. I don't think his films have like thematic points that he's trying to make necessarily to the audiences. I think his films are just like obsessions of his own. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've heard him talk. I think he's maybe a little on the spectrum. Okay. I don't think that's crazy to say. And I think he obsesses over cinema history and over films. And I think his films are just like his own personal scrapbooks of all his favorite moments from cinema history. Because his films are so unoriginal, but in an original way. That's how I would describe his movies. They're some of the least original films in the most original way you could imagine.
Sometimes they're really fun.
They are really fun. I like a lot of his movies. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be overly critical of him. But like I wouldn't say there's a lot of his movies that have some great overarching point. No. Although I did write a really long essay about the overarching themes of The Hateful Eight. So here I am just contradicting myself.
Okay, I think that's great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's a good wrap right there.
Yeah.
That was a great way to end up. And I've never heard that interpretation. I might have to say that at dinner parties. I'll credit you. Don't worry. But yeah, we definitely we should do this again at some point.
Yeah, dude. I love talking to you guys. This is fun. We don't even have to do it on the podcast. We can just chat.
Yeah.
Or we can do it on the podcast because this was fun, man. It's a cool show you guys got.
We're over now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on, man.
Okay. Do you recommend us something though? Last question.
Watch. Okay, recommend something to watch. Oh, I mean, it's probably past its time. But if anybody still hasn't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's the greatest movie of all time, and you absolutely have to see it. I
did not expect that, and I'm not gonna comment on it because that would take us another 10 minutes.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Oh, it's amazing. It's the most original movie that's come out maybe ever, but easily the most original movie that's been released in the last 10 years.
Right on. All right. I'll give that a watch.
It's
just like
I started it on a plane, but I don't think it was a plane movie.
And I love Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh is the lead in it, and I've been watching her kung fu movies for seriously so long. She was in the OG Crouching Tiger. She was in so many old school kung fu movies, and she is such a badass, dude. She's so cool. And literally watching her reinvent herself in this role was, for me, just purely joyous. getting to see her say things like, this is the most unique role I've ever gotten to be in. I'm so grateful for this experience. In my 40 years of acting, this is the most meaningful thing that I've ever done artistically. And it just means so much to me that I got to expand myself past chick who fights good. And I was like, that's beautiful, dude. And she got to do it as an Asian woman in her like 50s or 60s. And she was the lead role of a huge budget Hollywood movie that grossed millions of dollars. If anybody can name another movie that has that as the lead character right now, I would be utterly shocked. You know what I mean? Like an old female actress past her prime, who is an Asian woman, leads the most unique movie that's ever been created. I love that movie, dude.
All right, I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Yeah, it's really rad.
All right, cool. Well, thanks Zach. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's been an absolute blast. What's the name of our podcast again? Brainwashed by the pop culture.
Yeah, brainwashed by the pop culture, man.
All right, episode 4. This has been fantastic. All right.
Oh yeah, man. In the books.
Hit the books. All right.